Meet NovaOnline, a man so desperate for clout that he's turned himself into an internet punching bag. Between his TikTok career and his penchant for oversharing his deepest, darkest secrets, he's become a poster child for how not to handle fame. What started as a few viral videos has turned into a saga of public meltdowns, grooming allegations, and relentless trolling. And Nova hasn't just fed his trolls, he's invited them over for dinner, kept them for dessert, and then shown them his weird Discord messages where he talks about how much he likes wearing diapers. Nova's real name is Gabriel, and he started his content creation journey like any other kid, wanting to make it big in gaming. So, during the lockdowns, he created a YouTube channel and began uploading gaming videos while going by the name of Magic Wizard. It seems like at the time, he didn't have a microphone or the means of recording his voice because narration was entirely absent from his first video. It was just him playing this Japanese mobile game for 14 minutes with no narration. But Nova kept posting videos throughout the next few months, dipping his toes into other games like League of Legends, Among Us, and Minecraft, although his channel failed to pick up any major traction. This is probably due to the lack of production quality and the fact that there are just so many gaming channels out there trying to do the same thing. But there is one notable gem on his channel. Behold, the most 2009 thing ever made. Jokes aside, Nova did seem to, at least internally, have some commitment to doing YouTube, often talking about big plans for the future and how he would run his channels going forward. But none of these plans really panned out, leading Gabe to unofficially quit YouTube before the summer of 2022. But not all was lost, because YouTube was no longer the only video sharing platform where you could make it big. Now, there was TikTok. Gabe wouldn't have to record his gameplay and his microphone and edit it together and upload that with a thumbnail and a catchy title. Production quality was a thing of the past. Now, he could just turn on his camera for a few seconds and bam, instant content. After years of trying to make himself known as an influencer, he made internet history.
Mango habanero wings. Oh, wow. Okay, these are very, very spicy. Oh, wow.
Looking back, it's kind of shocking that this video got as much attention as it did, but the internet did what it does best, and turned his Discord moderator appearance into a meme overnight. The video blew up, getting millions and millions of views. While many of the comments on the video were just mocking him, there were some people who came in to defend Nova, pointing out how while his hair may be greasy and his chins may be many, ultimately he wasn't really doing anything wrong. He was just eating. But Nova didn't really seem to care either way. He was just thankful for the opportunity. So he started churning out more and more food reviews every single day. And in the midst of this video production frenzy, he made his most popular video to date, the infamous Orange Monster review.
We're showing Ultra Sunrise Monster Energy in the morning before we go. It's 7:46 a.m. First impressions. Smells like orange juice. Alright, cheers. And that's kind of what it tastes like.
This video got him 11.7 million views, and basically made Nova a known figure in the TikTok community. Were there a lot of people making fun of him? Of course. But putting that aside, the numbers don't really lie. He managed to garner around 300,000 followers at his height. The newfound attention even inspired him to return to his home base on YouTube and upload there, hopeful that his followers would carry over. But as with many TikTokers, it didn't really work out. Frankly, a lot of people would rob someone at gunpoint for 300,000 TikTok followers, as stupid as that sounds. He had very little to complain about. But even at this point in time, cracks began showing in the foundation of Nova's little viral video empire. You see, Nova didn't just want to build a following. He wanted to build a community. While he was blowing up on TikTok, he would frequently link a Discord server called the Novine Universe, where he was extremely active. The more popular he got, the more people joined the server, with many of the members being underage. You can probably see where this is going. You see, Gabriel held a deep, dark secret, something he kept buried deep within the recesses of his psyche. He liked diapers. And not out of necessity, he just really liked diapers. Nova has a diaper fetish, and over the years, he had been secretly frequenting ABDL Discord servers, which stands for Adult Baby Diaper Lovers. He also seems to have a thing with hypnosis. I'm not really sure why. I guess I've made enough of these videos that the diapers are the least surprising thing here. But all of Nova's diaper antics had largely gone under the radar while he was a nobody because, well, nobody was watching. It went unnoticed for a long time, but eventually the trolls caught up to him, and his messages in one of these servers were leaked on TikTok on the 6th of September. A few of my favorite examples include him saying he really wants a messy diaper, and following that up by saying he woke up wet in the middle of the night. Now, all of this is really funny, but it's not criminal. It should be, but it's not. What is potentially criminal is this video.
Like a diamond in the sky, twinkle, twinkle, will star, how I wonder what you are.
You do so good.
Out of context, this looks like just kind of a funny video of Nova being, well, himself. The problem here is that Nova thought he was singing this to a 14-year-old girl. And that isn't the only instance.
Question, but how often do you masturbate?
These videos were released on TikTok and began getting a lot of traction, with a variety of accusations being thrown at Nova. At some point, he was then approached on Discord to explain his behavior with the 14-year-old girl, to which he basically said that it was the girl's fault and not his own that the conversation went that way. Another defense he had at the time was that him acting like a baby was not actually sexual for him. Instead, it was a response to trauma. Age regression is a psychological state where someone reverts to behaviors and thoughts typically associated with a younger age. Some say it can be a coping mechanism for stress, anxiety, or trauma for those who experience some kind of stolen innocence. Nova basically attempted to argue that this is what he was doing, but that's just not true, given the myriad of times he specifically sought out diaper stuff and the fact that he referred to it as a kink himself. And it only got worse from there. Leaked messages from his server showed him trying to justify his actions, where he said it's not his fault that he's attracted to kids. This particular set of messages were leaked by Scoldger, who's a figure that's going to become pretty important later on. Nova then went on livestream, where he boldly declared that he himself had already debunked all of the allegations.
Proof my ass, it's all photoshopped. It's been proven. You guys need to get a job instead of wasting your fat asses on small TikTokers. Those are clearly effing photoshopped. And if I can, I'll get my effing lawyers into this.
But people noticed he was very careful about not addressing the meat of the situation. He was really avoiding what was actually going on, which just made things worse. Frankly, he would have been better off at this point just leaving the internet entirely. But instead, by denying the existence of the proof at hand, he emboldened the community of detractors to come after him even harder. Various trolls made entire TikTok accounts dedicated to exposing him, including notable names like Liquid Nova, Scoldger, and many more, focusing on picking apart Nova's lies and pointing out his unsavory actions. Anyone who knew about NovaOnline from his viral food reviews also knew that he was trying to review, well, children. And the drama even spilled into his daily life, as trolls contacted his church, who then apparently reported him to the authorities and barred him from entry. What began as any other attempt to get a little bit of fame online had quickly become a living nightmare for Gabe. With the pressure being the highest it had ever been, Nova decided to really show the trolls what he was capable of.
I'm at my breaking point. You're effing trolls who have nothing else better to do!
This meltdown, shockingly, only further fueled the hate machine, which at this point only kept getting more and more pronounced. Most of the information began to be proliferated by these smaller channels. Outside of TikTok, though, the response to him was relatively muted, and even on TikTok, he actually continued to grow steadily off the back of his cringeworthy antics. But through it all, the trolling never stopped, as he went through Herculean efforts to keep giving these people entertainment. With all this troll feeding, their attacks against Nova only grew more bold, leading to his Discord, his last place of refuge, being raided many times, resulting in a hostile takeover in early November. 1 week later, the server was deleted entirely, at which point Nova made a new one. Over time, many of these trolls got on Nova's personal shit list. Among them was the aforementioned Scoldger, who personally took part in some of the raids and earned himself a spot on Nova's wall of infamy with this message, where he supposedly admits that he had framed Nova. Nova was determined to use this message as proof of his innocence. But Scold was far from the only one. Soon after this, Nova's personal information was published online, meaning anyone could have contacted his personal phone number, his family, or community members to spread word of his online antics. This seemingly sent him off the deep end even more. And with his real name being released, even more chatter would flare up around who he was in real life. A Twitter user made a series of tweets claiming to have been in choir with Nova back in middle school. She spoke about how Nova had made some very weird advances on a lot of the girls there, giving them attractiveness ratings to their faces and just saying all kinds of very off-kilter things. In particular, she recalls this one time where Nova serenaded her with a very sexual song back when she was 12 years old. How old he was during this is not clear, although given that he was in middle school, we can guess he was between 11 and 13 or 14. But keep in mind, she provided no proof, so take this story with a pinch of salt. On top of that, if this did happen, it was when he himself was a literal child, so I personally wouldn't read into it too much. Whatever the case, the drama continued after. While things were mostly quiet on YouTube for the time being, TikTok was still rife with internet sleuths digging into Nova's past. Scoldger tracked down Nova's old Reddit account, where he was constantly begging for caretakers to change his diaper, adding to the list of already embarrassing and strange interactions Nova had had online. While Nova was constantly throwing fits on live streams, trying to save his non-existent reputation, he was offered an interesting opportunity by a controversial figure, Hiroshiman. Now, Hero, or Hero, however you want to say it, is essentially a completely ironic content creator who takes part in the most extreme aspects of cringe culture for attention. Back in the day, he became known for defending Logan Paul's Forest fiasco in a very interesting way.
And the guy who died should be lucky to be in Logan Paul's vlogs.
And seeing how this got him a bunch of attention, he would post other videos to YouTube as well, trying to bait people into being upset at him. And it would be this penchant for bait that led him to his illustrious animation career, which leads us to Blacked the Anime. Blacked the Anime is essentially an animated show of the worst quality imaginable. There is basically no plot, the entire thing is just rage bait to anger all of the followers of whatever social issue is currently in the zeitgeist. And frankly, its worst crime is not that it's offensive, it's that it's not funny. The entire thing is just dated memes and intolerable visuals for minutes on end. But then again, that's also the point. And so it was unsurprising when he reached out to notably controversial online figures towards the end of 2022 to get them involved in his projects. In November of that year, he would release a teaser for Ohio the Anime, which promised appearances from NovaOnline and EDP445. The teaser showed Hiroshiman in front of a Lamborghini, showing off the stars of his upcoming anime, as well as teasing some of the animations that would be included. Surprisingly, this trailer got over 500,000 views on YouTube, and while most of the people watching were just in disbelief that this project even existed, there was a small market for the content, and Ohio the Anime was gearing up to be the biggest project that Hero had ever worked on. He also spread a few pretty funny lies about the show, claiming that it had been picked up by Crunchyroll, and boasting about a supposed $2 million production budget, which only further served to bait more negative press. It wasn't known at the time what this show would be about, but whatever it was supposed to be, Nova was going to play a major role, either being the main character or the main villain. And Nova's involvement was integral, as with him just being recently exposed on TikTok, his involvement only served to get further attention on the entire thing and to drum up more controversy. I'm sure you won't be surprised to find out that the whole thing was most likely a scam. Initially exposed in a now deleted video, it was shown that the production crew ran a campaign where you could pay $10 to voice a side character and $30 to voice a main character, as opposed to, you know, getting paid for doing the work. He also claimed they were firing many of the voice actors who had paid to be on board on their Discord. Despite the behind-the-scenes operations being exposed, the anime continued to be produced despite delays. So in March, he announced the end of his business relationship with Hiroshiman on YouTube. He starts with a brief history of his involvement, saying he had been contacted by the management team behind the anime back in October, at which point he was pretty much hired on the spot to play the main character. He also confirmed some of the behind-the-scenes claims made about the production.
But what I didn't know is that he wasn't even contacting the people who were paying for parts in the anime. And also behind the scenes, he was using other celebrities. For example, Skitsy, he was using him.
He goes on to mention how Hiroshiman was using various niche internet micro-celebrities to promote the anime, including Skitsy VA, the guy behind that one Mr. Beast meme you've almost definitely seen at this point. He also makes an important clarification about EDP's involvement.
And also, may I mention that EDP was never a part of the anime.
He also brings up a number of complaints against both the anime itself and the Blacked the Anime Discord server, like the main mod supposedly abusing his mod powers, giving roles to randos who made a mess of things, and apparently banning Nova for no reason. Ironically, he seemed more upset about his mod authority being totally undermined than he did about any of the other things mentioned in the video. Towards the end, he also claims that Hero had screwed over a paid voice actor out of their salary.
One of the members of the server who had already left told me everything that was going on. How she was being used by Lassen. How he told her that she was being paid a lot of money for doing a specific part for the anime. And what happened was Lassen paid her a quarter of as much as he promised, blocked her, and that was it.
As the video draws to a close, NovaOnline takes his time to do what he does best.
I've got something for you. 2 middle fingers for all the people you've scammed. If I had $1 for every time that you have used someone and scammed someone, I'd probably be rich and can actually afford college.
Despite all of the effort he put into trying to pretend that he's the good guy, the video only got 7,000 views, and he was widely mocked in the comments, as no one had forgotten his Discord mod antics. And around this time, Nova also left his original audience on TikTok for a new one: YouTube. You see, commentary channels like Sensitive Society began making videos about Nova documenting his strange behavior, which brought him to a whole new level of infamy.
But the story he has and all the allegations he has, you might think, hey, he's just a sweet, innocent, overweight person who loves making food reviews, who loves dancing. But this TikToker is hiding a dark secret, and today we're going to be taking a look at that.
With the TikTok diaper saga and the Ohio the anime situations under his belt, what a cursed thing to say, Jesus Christ. Nova officially had provided enough content for people to make 10 to 20 minute videos ripping into him on a weekly basis. And now that his face was plastered across YouTube thumbnails, he was also much easier to spot whenever he popped his head out from his little hole, like when he appeared on a news broadcast.
Can I get a fried chicken soup, please?
With the line between the internet and real life becoming increasingly blurry for Nova, life was becoming a dark and confusing mess to say the least. But there was one silver lining. From YouTube and TikTok, Nova had never made any money off of his content despite the tens of millions of views he had gotten. But with Cameo, it could all change. Cameo is a service where you can pay celebrities to say whatever you want. Memes, birthday cards, you've probably seen one of them at some point.
It's almost like we have an imposter among us. I saw that you wanted. Don't lie to me, Walt! You sussy baka.
Given he was already offered money for his appearance in Ohio the anime, Nova figured why not open up the same opportunity to the general public for a little extra cash. Nova was charging $17 for 30-second clips, so one TikToker purchased his services for the meme of it. But Nova did not follow through with a particularly good cameo.
So just for fun, I actually requested a cameo from Nova, and I actually paid about $17, and what I got was quite disappointing.
She was understandably dissatisfied with the product, leading her to give him a 1-star review. Nova immediately noticed this, found her Discord account, and messaged her, begging her to delete the negative review because it was ruining his business. He even offered to redo the cameo, which never happened. And ultimately, Nova was given the title of Scammer, something that Sensitive Society took notice of. Now, Sensitive Society by this point was already known as one of Nova's biggest haters on YouTube, so it was kind of a bold move for him to personally request a cameo from Nova. He did pay him $30, but after Nova realized who had purchased the cameo, he messaged Sensitive directly, asking him if he thought he was stupid. But at least this time he gave him a full refund. This was about it for their drama at the time, as Nova didn't seem willing to talk to Sensitive Society publicly. But as one situation fizzled out, another nemesis was waiting in the wings: Tophia Chu. Tophia is a figure that's almost as controversial as Nova himself. She's grown a following due to people hating her guts, getting 300,000 followers on TikTok, with every video she posts getting hundreds of thousands and sometimes millions of views. And there are many reasons why people hate her, mostly boiled down to her unwillingness to do any real work, her overt hatred of certain races, and animal abuse. She also accused a random teacher who had passed away of having intercourse with her student without proof. Not really sure why, but, you know, she did do that.
It was a school that had a teacher named Miss 10 who has multiple kids by some of the students from the school. She slept with some of the students apparently.
Even though their reputations were almost equally as bad, it seems the two of them were destined to be enemies from the start. In October of 2022, Nova released a TikTok accusing her of being a racist, a homophobe, and every other kind of ist that you can list.
Guys, Tophia is racist towards Mexicans, and she says horrible stuff about Asians. And Tophia, if you're watching this, I'm calling you out. This is not right. What you are doing is completely wrong, and everybody in this world should be equal. God said that all men are created equal.
He wasn't necessarily wrong, of course, but the whole pedo thing really takes the wind from his sails when it comes to moral grandstanding. And it turned out that calling her out was a decision he would soon regret, as Tophia had a few remarks of her own. Pretty much all of these were on her live stream, where she criticized Nova for his unsavory Discord messages, his diaper fetish, and overall just being a degenerate lol cow. What has followed in the wake of this initial incident was a whole list of shit flinging, with the two constantly going back and forth to point out each other's flaws. Tophia harps on Nova's degeneracy, while Nova highlights her criminal levels of laziness and negligence and her overt racism. To protect himself from Tophia's attacks, Nova decided he needed a way to clear his name, to dispel the allegations, and just like everything else he does, he did it very poorly. He created a new channel on his Discord, which included supposed proof that Scoldger had framed Nova in one screenshot, as well as a link to an article on age regression. And that's it. That's literally it. Now, I've already explained age regression, but the reason why Nova is using this is to try and explain away his fetishes. He's trying to say he's not actually into this stuff, it's because of his traumatic childhood. When in reality, the clinch for him is that it's completely sexual. We know this because of his weird DMs with a ton of different people and his posts on Reddit about how it turns him on. And as it happens, around the same time as this little defense of his was released, Nova's attacks on Tophia became even more aggressive, perhaps in an attempt to divert attention from himself. This included a so-called mocktail video where he spent time repeating the same criticisms we've already covered. And it's at this point that Tophia decided to change the game by throwing in a bombshell, claiming that Nova's uncle was racist against black people, showing that when it was brought up on Nova's Discord server, he raged and defended his uncle. I honestly don't know why Nova's uncle is in any way relevant to the beef between them, other than potentially being a hot button issue to sway some more emotionally driven viewers to hate him for his family member that he's not responsible for the actions of, but whatever. Even though this was mostly just silly drama, things really started getting out of hand as the fan bases between these two grew more rabid. Some people claiming to be Nova's fans went as far as to threaten to come to Tophia's place of residence. At this point, the drama grew so big that it left TikTok getting the attention of a number of YouTubers, with a channel called Underflow releasing a video where he broke down the whole drama front to back. Now, out of the two of them, Nova was definitely taking things more personally. While on stream, he threatened to file a defamation lawsuit against her. Tophia responded by saying that if there was a lawsuit, she would win, since the things she was saying about him were true. After being threatened into submission, Nova was looking for yet another avenue to get back at her, and in his desperation, he waved the white flag to one of his enemies. In late May of 2023, Sensitive Society made an update video on Nova, revealing that Nova had reached out to him since their last interaction, asking for help in taking down Tophia because of some statements she had made.
Why did Nova reach out to me after I tried to reach out to him a few times, but he got to me and said no? Why would you reach out to someone you despise? He would straight up pay a hitman to take her out if he could. Later that day, NovaOnline reached out to me yet again, and he said this: she was making false statements about me last night online. Like I said, these emails...
After this, the drama did die down a little bit, although the two never really stopped verbally sparring. The only noteworthy thing here is that at some point, she genuinely started believing that Nova was going to send a hitman after her. If it wasn't clear enough, both of these people are absolutely insane. And unfortunately for Gabriel, this drama didn't go the way he intended it to. It seems like he initially started accusing Tophia Chu of all of these things so that he could get people off of his own back. Instead, it only intensified the scrutiny that he was under. In June of 2023, he was doxxed again, and worse yet, he was getting more attention on YouTube, with a video by Kiwi Tapes coming out, going into all the drama surrounding Nova from the early days all the way until the Tophia situation. And this was the first of many uploads, as Kiwi was about to become one of Nova's biggest critics in a not too distant future. With the pressure mounting from all sides, there seemed to be one potential saving grace for him, at least in his own mind. He had agreed to do an interview with Sensitive Society, but Nova stalled its recording for months on end, unwilling to answer the harder questions. Before long, it was clear the interview was never really going to happen, and since Nova hadn't spoken about it anywhere publicly, people mostly moved on, at least until August of that year, when Sensitive Society released a new update. In it, he shared some very interesting DMs from his Discord server, where Nova had essentially accused Sensitive Society of pressuring him into doing an interview.
And then he says, I just saw your video about me. I don't really like to do interviews. A month later, I hit him back and I say, hi there, wouldn't be live, and I just want to ask you a few questions. Won't take too long. Just to clear a few things up and maybe give people more context, let me know. I think it'll be interesting to interview you and get your POV, and maybe you can clear some stuff up. At this point, I was already done. Like, this was like my last time asking him. I know I seem like I'm desperate. No, but please give me an interview. Please give me an interview or else I'm gonna fall off. My mistake here was asking him more than 2 times. I just wanted the content and I wanted to be nice and polite. So I'm not gonna do that anymore from now on. I'm just not going to engage with people like this. And I don't think he responded to that. And he just ran and bitched to his Discord. So that's where that ended.
But before long, it became clear that this was just not the case, and Nova was playing the victim, as always. With his last possible lifeline to clearing his name thrown away, he still wasn't done digging his own grave. The initial bump in viewership he had gained back in mid-2022 was evaporating, and as the Tophia views were also drying up, it pretty much killed off any chance he had at becoming a successful influencer. Even so, he still kept grinding out the same tired, old content, hoping that his luck would finally turn around. And in a bit of desperation, he made an attempt to diversify his content. That diversification came in the form of live streaming a lot on TikTok and on YouTube. On YouTube, he would usually stream himself gaming while talking about whatever drama was happening, crying about his life circumstances, and sometimes even weighing in on political issues.
I knew about the Jim Crow laws being reintroduced. I knew about the whole anti-trans bills and all that. But the fact that you can get arrested, sent up to 20 years in prison for using a frickin' VPN? You kidding me?
But memes aside, it quickly became clear what the actual point of these streams were: airing out his grievances. He basically got no views on his streams, yet he still spent hours and hours doing it, at best trying to get some sympathy from the audience. And man, he is an absolute fisherman in that regard. He started speaking about how he had been approached by 2 different trolls, one of which used a very unique insult against him in Dutch. In the same clip, he also complained about people claiming that he had poor hygiene, arguing he wouldn't be allowed to work as a cook if his hygiene wasn't very good. He also complained about the aforementioned uncle a lot, the same exact uncle who Tophia had accused of being racist, which Nova doesn't really seem to dispute here. It seems like Nova and his uncle had a very heated relationship, evidence of which could be seen all the way back in March of 2023, and from this point on, their ties only got worse, as he often complained about him in real time over getting yelled at for supposedly ignoring him. He even accuses his uncle of being the reason Nova had started his emo phase, where he listened to a bunch of alt-rock songs on Spotify. Admittedly, he didn't only use TikTok for as it was also a space for him to experiment. He started an interesting trend wherein he would open up a TikTok stream while pretending that he wasn't aware he was doing it. He didn't just sit there quietly, of course, as he tried to do things that one would pretend to do while thinking no one was watching.
Alexa, insult generator.
I won't say anything because I think you might cry.
Honestly, I wish I had that other invisibility thing that I had during chapter 2. I don't know why I'm talking to myself. I hope I don't accidentally start a stream or something. That would suck.
Then continued to go the entire rest of the stream, talking out loud and commenting over a video game, only to suddenly exclaim at the end that he had in fact been streaming.
Oh, am I live? Oh, I did not mean to start a stream.
I don't really know why he pretended not to know he was streaming, considering he was commentating out loud about the game the entire time, clearly to the benefit of an audience, unless he wants us to think that he's actually schizophrenic, which, I mean, if that's what you want to do, that's, you know, cool, I guess. Most bafflingly, he didn't just do this once. In another later stream, he replaced his ramblings with singing, which was at least marginally more believable as a thing he would do alone in his own room. Except he couldn't even bother sticking with it this time, as he broke any illusion that it was all an accident by flipping off the viewers randomly one time.
This bitch is fake news, now it's time to pay dues. Damn!
He never did anything like this again, likely because of the mockery he received for it, but to this day I'm still trying to figure out why this was even happening. But amazingly, this wasn't even the lowest point of his summer. In late July, he was fired from his job, claiming it was because he had accidentally spilled a tub of lard. His new status as an unemployed neet freed him up to start producing a lot more content, although he mostly prioritized streaming because he couldn't help but bitch and moan all day about nothing. It seems like even at this point in time, he still hadn't caught on to the fact that most people who watched his streams either despised him or were just there to laugh at him. So instead of ignoring the trolls, he repeatedly committed the internet's most cardinal sin, directly feeding them.
Alright, that's it. F you. I know I don't like to outburst against the trolls, because that'll just give them a reaction. But actually, you. Hey Ash, can you help moderate TikTok chat? They're making fun of my dead dad.
Honestly, it's shocking the lengths he'll go to in order to stick it to his haters, even going out of his way to give backhanded shoutouts to one of his more prominent trolls, Liquid Nova.
Well, I've been feeling very insecure lately, and I went to the doctor's today and I weighed 270, so. Oh, and yeah, Liquid Nova, if you're in here, f you.
Imagine thinking that this would somehow stop people being mean to you. I just don't know anymore. Sadly, this wasn't even his most desperate attempt to do so, as he even tried to dunk on them by ruining the experience of consuming his content for the 5 people who still watched him. For example, he intentionally muted himself for one entire stream so that Liquid Nova couldn't get voice clips out of him to post on YouTube. But after realizing that nobody wanted to watch literal dead air, he shifted his strategy slightly. He added a new feature to his streams. Every 2 seconds, a faint swear would go off in the background in the audio. This was supposed to make it so that the same troll couldn't clip anything, since Nova believed that he would never take clips with so many swear words in them because he tends to censor swearing. He was wrong. It took him a while, but he eventually managed to rub his last 2 brain cells together, figuring out that sabotaging the viewer experience of the less than 10 people that were still there would push that viewer number directly to 0 instead of bringing more people in. Shocking, I know. But that doesn't mean there weren't any more clips to go around, like this one, where he bans a user for having the name Nova Grooms.
Oh my fucking gosh. Hey, thanks for the free money, you bozo.
He continued his avant-garde experimentation on his TikTok main account. Shortly after getting fired, he started releasing science and history videos, which, while seemingly higher effort than his other stuff, actually consisted of him regurgitating information that he found while reading an article or watching a YouTube video about that same subject. Unfortunately, his historian arc didn't last very long, and honestly, what a pity it is. We were this close to him educating us about the Hall of Cost. How sad. Most of these were posted to his second channel, where he actually had a few random breakout successes from viewers who didn't really know who he was. But then in October, he shifted gears yet again, as he stumbled onto what he believed to be the perfect content farm: gym videos. Having recently started exercising, he began documenting his progress. These videos did do better than most of his other stuff, so he went all in, rebranding his second account to a full-time documentation of his gym activities. Nova is many things, but his mom didn't raise no quitter. He continued releasing content across his 2 accounts, with the main one getting most of the love. But the more desperate he was to stay relevant, the harder his trolls bullied him. In February of 2024, his server was raided again, but this time they got more than they bargained for. As the raid was happening, Nova started spamming the mods to control the situation, including one of them called Thoughtless. Despite not paying them to mod his server, he demanded their presence as if it was their responsibility to fix his Discord server, and after enough pressure, they blew a gasket. The general chat turned into one massive vent session where Nova's mods and his girlfriend talked about all the ways that he was a complete and utter failure, demanding loyalty and constant activity from the staff that he wasn't paying, ignoring his girlfriend's messages, and eventually leaving the server open for the trolls to come in and dox his own staff. Of everyone there, though, Thoughtless was the most vocal, as she revealed to everyone that Nova had apparently cheated on his Discord waifu. Nova was mostly quiet during this, until suddenly coming back to the chat in the middle of it, asking Thoughtless why she had hidden her feelings. But after he got reamed some more with insults from all of them, he went back into his goon cave. From there, Thoughtless started leaking their personal DMs, including his usual attention-begging behavior, but most importantly, the fateful day he apparently cheated on his girlfriend. And the cheating itself is not really the notable part that even matters here. What matters is the way that he did it. And I quote, "Can you help me regress today?" in reference to his age regression fetish. This is like when Kanye was like, "Can I have the nitrous today?" But instead it's Nova, and instead of nitrous it's diapers and binkies. While his own mod team was cooking him alive, he went on TikTok saying he had completely lost control of the server, but made no mention of anything his mods were talking about. He then locked it down indefinitely, and even when the raid was over, he couldn't be bothered to rebuild his little community. But a few days after the fiasco, once things had died down, he announced he would make a brand new one to gather his fan base and start more positive activity. But he couldn't even do this right. He started hyping up the new Discord opening, but it kept getting delayed for months due to his mental health struggles. Once he actually initially started, it took him over a month to get it going, until it was finally launched on April 1st, posting an invite on his channel. And then on TikTok, he went absolutely Joker mode, announcing that he was beginning his revenge arc, in the same cringy way that you'd expect from him by now.
A storm is brewing in the distance. All the trolls that hurt me will get what's coming to them. I will get my revenge.
He then followed this up with an even better affirmation on his second channel. Since he didn't give any details in the second video, nobody in the comment section had any idea what he was talking about, and I'm still not sure to this day. Things weren't all bad though. Despite being hounded from every side by trolls and having all of his online friends turn on him, he had enough eyes on him to be worth something. And so in March, he announced that he had just been sponsored by a company who sent him daily wash towels to review. I'll give the company this is definitely on brand for him, considering he had probably just started showering for the first time in his life. He got so excited over the sponsorship, he made a second video to give them some more free advertising. Whatever Chinese guy sponsored him definitely got his money's worth out of Nova. While all of this was happening, members of the Kiwi Farms had been documenting Nova's rise to infamy. At first, the forum wasn't very thorough, covering the odd Nova exposed video here and there, but that was all about to change. On April 4th of 2024, a mysterious new member showed up on Nova's page that had successfully infiltrated Nova's new Discord server. He revealed that Nova had been repeatedly locking down and then unlocking the server over the last 3 days due to constant raids. And his latest lockdown was followed by a raid group going by the name of the Chu Crew, who supposedly preferred to target Tophia Chu. This was somewhat confirmed by Nova, who gave them a hearty F you. And then, a few weeks after the appearance of this anonymous user, something else interesting happened. Nova apparently lost access to his TikTok account after he clicked on a phishing link, and the hackers gave it a complete makeover. They renamed it to Nova's real legal name, took down all of the pinned videos, which were his most popular videos to date, changed the profile picture to him sucking on a pacifier, and then, just to rub salt in the wound, they shouted out a Twitter account called Nova is a Groomer. The cherry on top was a video they uploaded to his account themselves, which was just a compilation of Nova being an absolute degenerate. Nova understandably freaked out, posting a video about the situation on his second channel.
This is not a drill. This is not a drill. This is not a drill. My main account just got hacked. My main account just got hacked. I am really working really hard to get it back. I am so under so much stress right now. My main account just got hacked. I fell for a phishing scam in my email. It's just...
It took about a day for him to calm down, at which point he posted a much more coherent video. In it, he reveals he's still trying to get his TikTok account back, and he even found out who did it. He said he wanted to stay low for now, revealing his plan to leave the Nova brand behind, planning instead to make a brand new TikTok account that would be dedicated to a new career. It was not history, it was not the gym, instead it would be singing. And he would keep this new musical passion a secret from his current account. Of course, just because he was laying low, didn't mean he wouldn't try fishing for sympathy, which he did in probably the worst way possible, posting a text on screen about how badly he was feeling. He wouldn't make a full post for about 2 days until he came back to the internet to cry some more. He said he was still trying to get his main account back, as well as dealing with some personal stuff he really didn't want to get into. After it was renamed, one of Nova's co-workers found his account, at which point they decided to film him at his new workplace. This would come to bite Nova in the ass again soon. Despite his utter incompetence, Nova genuinely believed he could recover from this. On the 22nd of April, he announced that his comeback was imminent, and as a result, he started posting multiple videos a day. Everything from his food reviews to threatening his hackers that there would be hell to pay. As it turns out, the more or less anonymous hackers had no fear of the autistic blobfish. And even after over a week of trying, TikTok themselves didn't do anything to help Nova. He posted a new 2-minute video where he talked about how difficult it was for him to deal with the situation, and to show off his marketing genius, he weaved in a new announcement that he had partnered up with the Trevor Project, a group that focuses on helping LGBT youth. I don't think that he ever actually partnered with them. I assume they would read what he's been up to and not want to be around this guy, but I don't know, you never know, I guess. In the end, Nova never got his main TikTok back. The hacker, who went by Razor GXD, put it up for sale, revealing he had stolen over $9,000 from Nova's Creator Funds account. It appears the sale never went through, as after staying up for a few short months, it was deleted permanently, never to be seen again. You would think that losing his account would humble him a little bit, and maybe even convince him that all of the people messing with him were probably making it just not very worthwhile worthwhile to be online anymore. Instead, maybe he could just leave the internet, focus on his real life job and friends if he had any of those by this point, and stop being infamous for all of the YouTube videos that people were making about him. But instead, he went right back to getting into drama. Sometime in late April, a fellow lolcow named Mario Lord threw a few jabs at Nova for being overweight, despite all the time that he was supposedly spending in the gym. Nova took this very personally, posting on TikTok about how Mario had apparently backstabbed him. And he wasn't down there, he was also escalating to borderline physical threats. A week later, he showed off just how brutal and dangerous he really was, slapping around a punching bag with the force of 1,000 suns. And he then followed it off by showing off his celestial physique. But despite how physically dangerous NovaOnline clearly was, Mario Lord could not be threatened into silence.
You've seen the build, Nova. I know you have. The power of the Shingon is way too much for you. You are shivering just looking at this build.
This drama ultimately got pushed to the wayside though, as Nova finally wisened up to the fact that he had a lot more important things to do, like his legendary reviews. At this point, he was still desperate to become a Report of the Week ripoff. Report of the Week being the guy who basically dresses like a vampire and eats food in his car all the time. Good content, by the way, highly recommend that channel, but Nova clearly wanted to be like him, and so he started expanding his horizons beyond fast food and Monster energy drinks. He ended up filming a food review at a sushi restaurant, but it ended up being a terrible idea, as he claimed he ended up getting severe food poisoning from the incident. But he wasn't dissuaded, convinced that he could make it work. It never did, as this sort of content is some of his least viewed by far. And as much of a failure as it was, he wasn't quite done with the niche reviews, as instead, he came up with a truly revolutionary idea, a gas station shower review.
So Pilot does give you soap and fresh towels as well, but however, I had brought my own just in case. And it looks like they also have a fan in here as well, so it does not get too hot.
At this point, he was trying his very best to stay out of drama. Unfortunately for him, the hacking fiasco led to a surge in activity, as his trolls began hammering him harder than before. On May 6th, just 3 days after his account was put up for sale, he was doxxed again, which also included where he went to the gym. This leak of personal information also included a lengthy expose, including supposed evidence of him blatantly admitting that he was attracted to kids, admitting to being inappropriate with a 14-year-old girl, and even documentation of his friend reporting on him for being a degenerate. Of course, what the hackers didn't figure out is that Discord links don't work outside of Discord, and they usually don't even work on Discord, so literally none of the proof they provided is accessible to this day. Frankly, even if the proof was real, their poor handling of this really makes the whole thing look like a somewhat malicious hit piece. And at this point, Nova was finally getting fed up. And how could he not be? The drama and the trolling was leading to people door dashing food to his door without paying for it. Now, some people claimed that he was actually ordering these himself and that he was just pretending it was for someone else from sympathy bait, but I haven't seen any evidence of that, and it's not really hard to believe that people would send pizzas to his house or something. The faceless trolls were apparently the least of his concerns though. Instead, his chosen sworn enemies were some of his most vocal detractors, including YouTubers like Kiwi Tapes, Smokey MCC, and Sensitive Society. For the past couple of months, Smokey and Kiwi had been running their podcast, Too High for Stupid, where they regularly discuss the ongoings of various lolcows, Nova included. One day, they were intending to talk about him on stream, when suddenly, the man himself appeared in the chat.
Food reviews, you know, like the one after the other, hunks of pizza, Indian food, all this, and all the chats like Nova.
Oh, there's Nova in chat. There's Nova.
Oh, you're here? It's like, how do you expect to lose any weight if you keep doing these food reviews? It's like you have to pick a lane, or you have to work harder.
Being the loud-mouthed belligerent he is, he was spotted pretty quickly. At first, Kiwi and Smokey barely even talked about him, but even before they had the chance to say anything bad, it seems like Nova was already pretty riled up, repeatedly trying to get their attention. The chat, meanwhile, just made fun of him, and Kiwi delivered the knockout punch by calling him a pile.
Guys, you can't bully Nova like that.
I'm loving the new place.
Guys, you can't bully Nova like that. Listen. He was caught in a Discord sending pictures to, you know, underage kids of him in his diapers. I mean, you know, what the heck, guys.
The rest of the stream then turned into a shit show, as the hosts and the fans ragged on Nova constantly, who stayed in the chat the entire time, trying to achieve God knows what. Eventually, even his biggest troll, Liquid Nova, showed up to chime in. To no one's surprise, begging YouTubers who hated him to I don't know, express sympathy for him or something was a complete waste of time, and nothing was achieved by this attempt. But Nova is basically a sponge for humiliation. He can't help himself but ask for more. So after this colossal freakout, he conspired a revenge plot straight out of the Riddler's mind, if the Riddler also suffered from crippling autism. At least more crippling autism than in the last Batman movie. He released a video announcing that he would be launching a podcast with his social media manager who had helped him set up a new Instagram account back in June. She'll be important in just a second. In his own words, he planned to make no money off of it and was merely doing it for fun.
But due to an excellent idea from my social media manager, I'm gonna be launching a podcast. And this is going to be primarily for fun. I do not intend to make any money off of it.
He's right, that does sound fun. He then name drops Kiwi, Smokey, and Sensitive Society, promising to prove them all wrong on their accusation that he is a creep. He was so heated that he even redacted the name of their podcast that led to this happening. And with a skilled orator like Nova, you'd think the production would be smooth sailing. But over the following week, things got very, very weird. First of all, people found out who his social media manager was after Nova shouted out an account called Syax Jagger. He then announced something big was being cooked up, his ultimate revenge against Kiwi and Smokey, promising an epic comic book showdown. So far, there wasn't anything super unusual, and just within a couple of Instagram posts, he went straight off the deep end. He started talking about they, some nebulous group of people, were done tolerating the endless trolling, promising that a change was imminent, the end to the trolls' reign once and for all. He paired it with a picture with one of the most tone-deaf captions I have ever read, but it is awesome. This is your final warning. Back off and leave me alone, or face the darkness you've stirred. Remember Columbine, they didn't heed the signs. He then turned up the heat, once again name-dropping every YouTuber who had ever talked about him, and then also announcing one of the greatest plot twists in the entire story, as he proudly announced he had now become a member of the alt-right. This was a terrible idea, as his comment section was quickly flooded by some trolls and some actual supposedly alt-right people, maybe just people pretending to be alt-right. Supposedly these people were aggressively racist against Smokey, Kiwi, and Sensitive Society, although all of the posts were deleted soon after, and there's no real proof of the comment section here, so I'm kind of just going off of other people's retelling for this particular little wrinkle in the story. But there was then a pretty quick heel turn again, with the two posts being deleted from Instagram, and Nova posting a video now denouncing the alt-right, where he bravely said that it's not okay to make fun of Sensitive for being Mexican, or Kiwi and Smokey for doing drugs.
Kiwi, Smokey, and Sensitive Society, just please don't make any racist comments about them. Just because Sensitive is Mexican and Kiwi and Smokey do drugs, that's just no excuse to say racist shit about them, because one, that's not cool, that doesn't make you any better than they are, and two, making that shit about them, you go as low as they do, because they have made up false shit about a lot of people.
He still does accuse them of being liars who besmirch his good name, of course. He then followed it up with an Instagram post where he just said that he renounces the movement and that racism is bad. Sadly, the alt-right character arc had ended as quickly as it began, and Nova went back to doing his own thing. At this point, he was still working on his podcast, which he said would finally put an end to all the trolling. But until that moment, trolls still continued to hound him, leading to what may be the least surprising discovery of this whole saga: an ex-hamster page that is believed to be his. It contained an exhaustive list of his interests, including diapers, adult diapers, foot smelling, farting, breastfeeding, food stuffing, and age play. He also listed his religion as Jewish for some reason, which you would think kind of conflicts with that whole alt-right thing, but I mean, you know, we're not asking for consistency here too much. It's probably unreasonable. Around this time, he was also banned from the karaoke bar he used to frequent, where all of his karaoke content had been recorded. He never gave the reason publicly, but given the troll's history of hounding his personal life, that could have been a fair guess, at least at the time, because a YouTuber going by Genix took it upon himself to confirm the rumors. He had reached out to a familiar face, the Kiwi Farms user who had infiltrated Nova's Discord back in April, and asked him if he knew anything about it. This user alleged that he and two other people got him banned by doing a bit of trickery at the bowling alley, whatever that means. He then clarified that what this actually meant was that they had called the manager and sent him the screenshots of all of Nova's ill deeds. During this experience, the user also admits that he took part in Nova's Discord account getting hacked, which made some people suspect that he may have been involved in the phishing attempt on Nova's TikTok. As far as I know, this was never confirmed, and the hacker who took credit for it never openly associated with this anonymous user. This situation apparently took a big toll on Nova's mental health, and because he wasn't old enough to drink alcohol, he couldn't quite drown his sorrows at the drunken clam, at least not yet. So instead, he came up with a new solution: opium. Well, not really, but kind of, but also not at all. He started hanging out at kava bars, where he was posting videos from. In this one, he's drinking Kratom, an herbal supplement which some say has similar effects to opiates, just milder and, legal. This content ended up taking off, as the very next video, where he drank a shot of kava, got 800,000 views, which is 20 to 40 times more than most of the other content from him from around this time. He uploaded a few of them throughout July, and they all got way more views than his usual stuff. However, this trend did die pretty quickly. But that was okay, because he would soon have something even better, a tool that would break the trolling campaign against him once and for all. It was under these auspices that he released the first ever episode of Hour of Joy, and he definitely delivered. Joined by Saya, Nova covered everything from Tophia and her dad's recent drama, to also doing his own attempted expose of Kiwi, Smokey, and another YouTuber named Leaping Lemur, but with absolutely zero preparation.
Someone on his Twitter seemed to have edited the video of you like telling your fans not to be racist. Like if you scroll down.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and head over to Kiwi's Twitter, see if he's posted any new bullshit. Oh yeah, the last thing he posted about me was on the 24th, called Average Hour of Joy Listener.
Yeah. It appears as like one of your fans said something like racist about you being like the supreme race.
He spends the whole time talking about how they spread lies and rumors about him, but of course, he never really addresses what those lies are, because he knows that if he specified why they claimed that he was a pedo, it would make him look even worse. He then goes through their social media posts and talk about how upsetting it is for Nova to see it, and that's basically it. That's his grand expose. That was the plan the whole time. Bravo. The episode received a lot of backlash, which apparently got so bad that the episode was removed altogether. And it only opened up Nova to further attacks. The first came from Kiwi Tapes, when he responded with an update video, where he caught up viewers on everything, including the TikTok hack. With how much scrutiny he was already under, you'd think Nova may have rethought his strategies. Well, maybe you'd think that if you didn't know anything about him, because truly, it wouldn't be Nova if he didn't try to swallow his own foot. So he went on Leaping Lemur's livestream with his manager, where he talked shit in the chat. Of course, Lemur noticed, but instead of trolling Nova, he decided to start talking to the manager. He asked him why he was associating with Nova, where she then said that she was only in it for the trolling. He then asked her how old she was, and she admitted to being 15 years old, claiming that Nova had called this a decent age, which I'm sure you can imagine what he meant by that. And this puts a previous post into a whole new perspective. On Instagram, he had posted a rant about the White Bowser, yet another widely mocked person that he had beefed with, who I actually just made a video about, which you can watch right now. After talking about how Sia was his manager, he called her his woman. Sia herself then responded to this by saying she's no such thing, to which he then asked, why not? So yes, he's gone back to his roots of flirting with minors, but at least he didn't ask this one to tuck him into bed or put a binky in his mouth. At least not that we know of quite yet. Nova desperately wanted to prevent another twinkle twinkle situation, so he posted a video response to his Instagram, only to delete it almost instantly. But thankfully, Leaping Lemur managed to download it on time, sharing it in his video. In it, Nova claims that Sia goes to university and is well over the age of 18, but he does not give any proof of this claim whatsoever.
I know there's been a little bit of controversy surrounding Sia lately, so I'm just going to address it right now. First off, I've seen that video from the Leaping Lemur. I just wanted to inform you guys that Sia is not 15. She goes to university, so therefore she is well over 18.
It's not news to say that this did nothing to stop the backlash, and soon we would get to witness a whole new chapter of Nova. Users like the aforementioned anonymous one from Kiwi Farms became pivotal in exposing how much of the shady behavior was going on behind the scenes, as they worked directly with YouTubers like Leaping Lemur to further expose him. Lemur interviewed one of his associates, Zilla, who went over the Discord hack and the bowling alley ban. He admits they hacked 5 of Nova's social media accounts, including Steam, Microsoft Mail, Gmail, Discord, and Kik. He then leaves off with a message to Nova saying that he's far from done with him. The video continues by showing screenshots of him engaging with sex chat bots, including a full-on roleplay session with a bot called Evelyn Rosethorn. Mind you, he did this on a Discord server that was public where other people could clearly see him doing it. They then moved on to his relationship with some of his e-girls, including one named Bun. We see a screenshot where he threatens to hurt himself after she says that she doesn't feel good. The same Bun apparently ended up breaking up with him before sharing a long list of grievances, including the fact he supposedly cared more about minors than he did about her, rebuffing her when he was too busy to talk to her, telling her to get her mom arrested, putting his needs over hers, and calling her a bitch. A lot of it's kind of petty stuff that doesn't matter, but that thing about minors is definitely, concerning. And lastly, they ended up going over his Gmail leaks. We see an email to his therapist linking to some age regressor content as if trying to educate them on the topic, and another email with an Etsy purchase receipt for total diaper dependency hypnosis from someone named Little Hypno. You see, this second thing is part of a series of purchases all centered around his fetish. And lastly, we get to see his Steam account, and wouldn't you know it, he's a furry. You're shocked, I know. Now, these leaks didn't reveal much that people didn't already know about Nova, and Nova never really addressed them, as he was still in the midst of trying to pretend there was a career for him to recover. He had made an account on alt-tech live streaming platform Kik in early 2024, where he had been streaming semi-regularly. These streams had about as much success as his YouTube streams, going by his most viewed archive, but that's okay, as he still had his podcast. He uploaded a 3-minute teaser episode saying that he would talk about other lol cows in order to make people stop thinking of him as a lol cow.
I already have somebody that's going to be helping me out on the sidelines with several lol cows, such as Jupiter. I'm obviously going to be doing Boogie because he's kind of disgusting. If he was as smart as he was fat, he would be the next Albert Einstein.
He also promised that a new episode would be coming out soon, with the topic being one of his peers, Daniel Larson. This episode did actually come out, being released on Spotify, and it went about as well as you would think it did. The entire episode can basically be boiled down to him reading the lolcow wiki article on Daniel and then sharing the leaked phone calls that had come from Daniel when he was in prison. Since the whole point of the show is to be as non-critical as possible, he basically offers no perspective on anything he talks about, and it's just not really entertaining. The episode was then taken down the same day that it went up, and considering what happened last time, everyone just kind of assumed that he had taken it down due to hate, but according to Nova, that's actually not the case. Nova claimed that it had been pulled by Spotify because of mass flagging by trolls. He hasn't changed this part of the story since, so he might have actually been honest that one time, especially because Spotify has extremely limited methods of actually interacting with content. So it's hard to imagine that he could have gotten enough hate on Spotify itself for him to want to take it down. But once again, his attempt to make himself look better by putting down others in a similar position to him fell flat on its face. And then, just when it looked like it couldn't get any worse, there was another major Discord leak showing him being a diaper baby with the pacifier and all. By now, the Nova story has become pretty samey. He does something dumb, people make fun of him for it, he has a meltdown, repeat over and over and over again. And with his average views down across the board, it seems like he was almost intentionally doing things to get mocked. He was truly desperate to get even a sliver of coverage around his name, because that was all he had left. And so one day, while Kiwi Tapes and Smokey were doing their stream, Nova returned to the chat, where he made a remarkable offer. He said that he wanted to bury the hatchet, offering to come on stream for an interview. And just to sweeten the deal, he paid to become a channel member. To Nova's credit, he did keep his promise. He hopped on stream with them, and it was it was kind of a disaster. Despite the stream going on for about 5 hours, Nova wasn't even present for about 2 of them. He kept running off to supposedly do errands in the middle of the stream, randomly leaving the call by accident, and in general, he just didn't seem to understand that there were thousands of people watching him. When he was there, he spent half the time ignoring the things Kiwi and Smokey were saying so he could focus on the chat, which obviously kept trolling him and trying to get his attention. As for the interviewers themselves, they went back and forth in a healthy medium between grilling him on some of his controversies and having their fun. They started off by trying to get him to do a house tour, or at least a room tour, both of which Nova was unwilling to do, most likely because the entire thing is insanely messy. They then questioned him about this supposed 15-year-old manager, where he was very hesitant to reveal much of anything, simply saying that she was in full control of his Instagram.
So we had heard that you were apparently being flirty with this Sia girl, and she was 15, was it?
Once again, she had pretty much full control over my Insta.
Yeah, I don't know. It seemed like there was a little bit of a flirtatious vibe between you guys, you know? Yeah, because it came out that she was like 15. Like, I didn't. Do you just have anything to say about that? These are the questions chat asking.
Oh no, what happened now?
Nova, you gotta quit dodging the question. You gotta talk to us. If we're gonna have you on, you gotta talk to us, Nova.
Sorry, I just got a spam text from something called Style Seat.
Oh.
What is Style Seat?
Have no fucking idea, but someone sent it to my phone.
Notably, he doesn't deny how old she was at this time, meaning he either lied before about her being 18 years old, or he learned that she was actually 15 and had no problem with that. The running theme was that he didn't really want to engage with them and any question they had in good faith. He refused to answer for any of his real controversies, including when he had sang a lullaby to who he thought was a 14-year-old girl. When it was brought up, he just completely shut down, leaving the call just before it was about to play, and then never addressing it properly when he came back. In the end, even the two hosts agreed it was a bit of a disaster, as the most entertaining part of it was Nova getting trolled by everyone and not having the mentality to understand that he was being played. Amazingly, he actually stayed friendly with Kiwi and Smokey for a few weeks after this though. Later on, he spoke to Kiwi about wanting to change the name of his podcast, and he came up with the name Too Low for Genius, imitating the name of Kiwi and Smokey's show, Too High for Stupid. He later announced he would be renaming the podcast to Kiwi Core, referring to Kiwi Farms or Kiwi Tapes. Basically, he himself was planning to start a channel where he covered lolcows, despite him being one himself. I guess it would bring a unique perspective to the table, for sure. Quickly, the duo started testing just how far they could take this friendship. A few days after Nova made his announcement of his podcast, Smokey tagged a Twitter account belonging to a music artist that Nova liked, trying to get Nova noticed by calling him a and claiming he had said some very mean things about them. He tweeted at the account for a while, encouraging others to join in the fun. Coincidentally, Nova went live around the same time, and once he realized what was going on, he looked beyond devastated.
I feel like no one gives a and I'd probably be better off dead.
It's at this point where we see this beautiful, blossoming three-way bromance unfortunately come to an end. While Kiwi and Smokey were streaming, they hopped onto Nova's show. Nova then showed his phone and revealed he was actually watching their stream at the time, at which point Smokey said this.
Hi, Kiwi.
Yo!
Wait.
Nova, you're a pudgy pedophile. Nova.
Smokey.
Although he was heartbroken, he didn't have time to dwell on this for too long. Because for the last few months, Nova had been neglecting his greatest passion, being a Discord moderator. His original Discord server had been locked down for several months now due to constant harassment, and the one he had made in April ended up getting wiped clean by none other than Thoughtless, his at one time dear Discord kitten. But in late September, he finally made another attempt, fulfilling the prophecy. And just like the prophecy foretold, he screwed it all up again. At the beginning of September, Nova lost his job, but immediately got accepted into a different position elsewhere. To his credit, he did manage to keep this workplace under wraps for the most part. That was until he made a new Discord, where he was once again all too comfortable sharing some very private information. He proudly shared a picture from his place of work. Within a few days, people found out the exact location he worked at, and a few days later, he was fired. To show the trolls who was boss, he then released another video of him boxing. But this was just the beginning of his Discord troubles. As more people found out about his server, trolls began to flood in, and about 2 days after he was fired from his job, the server was raided with animal gore videos. Right around the same time, he was busy playing a Harry Potter video game. His mod team was slow to act, and even after his fans spammed him to pay attention, he still seemed unaware of what was going on. The mods did eventually fix the issue, barely stopping the server from being banned by Discord themselves altogether. Going back to his kick streaming, he also used this platform to overshare. He confirmed that he had been fired from his job because his boss was afraid of his online reputation. His mom was supposedly trying to get the job back while he was looking elsewhere. He applied to Walmart but was promptly denied, and then stated he was expecting an interview with Taco Bell. It was right around this time that being a likable influencer would have probably come in handy, and gosh darn if he wouldn't give it another try. He released the much anticipated second episode of his podcast where he talked more about Daniel Larson. He did everything the exact same way he had done last time, going over more of Daniel's leaked phone calls. It wasn't much better than the last one, his commentary wasn't very good, but this one is still up if anybody wants to listen to it and see just how riveting his content truly is. While he tried his darndest to make this content creator thing work, his Discord was becoming a disgusting cesspool. As you'd expect, Nova was quite comfortable having minors around, seeing no reason to age-gate the server in any way. Despite that, some people in the server were all too comfortable saying some very weird things, which Nova was entirely unwilling to do anything about. This laissez-faire attitude resulted in what may be the strangest moment of this entire saga. A supposed OnlyFans girl joined the server's voice chat, where she managed to capture the attention of absolutely everyone by showing off her toy collection and even saying that she liked kids. This went on for a solid 3 hours with none of the mods doing anything about it. She was eventually timed out and the voice chat was deleted, as if that would do anything about it. Nova apparently wasn't present, having suddenly disappeared just before this happened, only to reappear saying that he had fallen asleep. This OnlyFans girl was eventually dealt with, and Nova made a brief announcement where he gave a hearty FU to Kiwi Farms before saying that the behavior in the voice chat was unacceptable. He also claimed he had been unavailable because he was taking a nap. The server was briefly locked down, and he promised to further ban anyone who engaged in not safe for work behavior. By this point, there had already been a lot of pressure on him to make it an 18+ server, and this only sent these demands into a fever pitch. After endless attempts to convince him, he finally conceded, saying he would start working on a new server that was actually 18+. Keep in mind, he wasn't going to delete the current server or anything, meaning the issue wouldn't be solved. He was just now going to have another stupid Discord server. I mean, you can't expect Nova to not want to spend time with minors. It's his greatest passion, aside from weightlifting, of course. Much of the discussion from the server was screenshotted and then reviewed on Kiwi Tapes' podcast. Nova obviously became aware of this, and in true NovaOnline fashion, threatened to destroy their careers. To everyone coming from Kiwi's stream, just know that I'm about to ruin their whole careers. Watch out. Their time is numbered. Some people must have taken this threat somewhat personally because this was followed by a sudden reappearance of the anonymous Kiwi Farms user and his hacker buddies, who then forcibly took ownership of the server and exposed more of the degeneracy going on. As you'd expect, Nova wasn't taking this too well. In messages, he was once again threatening self-harm and ignoring his fans' pleas to leave the server. He also joined a voice call happening, which was hosted by the hacker crew, where they basically spent the entire time going over all of Nova's misdeeds. At this point, more messages were also released of Nova talking about how dire the situation had gotten. In response to someone saying, well, of course healing takes time, but I'm sure you'll recover, he says, I doubt it. If I don't recover, my next home will be the graveyard. I don't have a job, I only have a few friends who care, and I have severe trauma. My career is over at this point. Eventually, most people from the server were kicked, with the majority of them assuming that it had been fully deleted. Nova released an update the same day, saying he wouldn't open another server for at least 1 to 2 months. He also promised to once again prove the trolls wrong about something. And the reason I say it that way is because he never said what it would be. He just kind of villain monologued about how he would own them. Their time is numbered. At the time, there were a lot of unanswered questions about who was responsible for what. One person, Discord Bunnies, was accused of being the OnlyFans girl responsible for the whole fiasco, with some users on KF thinking that she was Nova's girlfriend. This was then countered by a friend of Bunnies who revealed the true identity of this girl, which we've already gone over. The next few days were not easy on Nova. More and more messages got leaked, showing him talk about how his career was basically toast. It also brought more attention of his habit of talking to underage people, with one YouTuber, Bizarre, reaching out to one of the minors from the server to discuss their relationship with Nova. This anonymous person shared screenshots of their messages, where he threatened his own life, and generally was way too comfortable seeking emotional support from a child, even if his feelings could have been seen as valid. In one of the screenshots, after DMs started being leaked to other places, Nova curiously asked if their conversation had been leaked, meaning it was likely he was having the exact same kinds of talks with a lot of others on Discord. The most remarkable part of the video is when he says he got a new job, and instead of immediately doxing himself again, he says he can't talk about it. Finally, he learned. But sadly for him, the info got leaked anyway. I'll let you guess what happened next. Did he keep the job or did he get fired? You'd be right, you are a freaking genius, he got fired. He had apparently applied to work at McDonald's again, who outright rejected him. With him back to total neet status, he started streaming the Harry Potter game regularly, with every single stream being the exact same. Him playing the game in almost dead silence, and occasionally addressing the trolls in his chat or on forums. He was still active on Discord, of course, where he hadn't learned his lesson about publicly talking about his diaper interest. Throughout 2024, the activity of the trolls was heating up to the point that it was honestly going way too far. There were numerous instances of these trolls finding Nova out in the wild in his hometown. One of them in particular came to Kiwi Farms promising some juicy info about seeing him at a bus stop, in restaurants, etc. He claimed to have confronted Nova and his mother at their house after already having gone door to door to tell all of the neighbors about all of his online controversies. The mother apparently denied any of her son's wrongdoing, and even when shown the Twinkle Twinkle Little Star clip, she told this random person that they could agree to disagree. He also went to Nova's old house, where he was greeted by a brand new family completely unrelated to Nova, including a mother and 4 kids. The mom spoke to this troll, sharing that her house was still being regularly harassed because of Nova's trolls. One time, she recalled that a van full of people drove up to her house. This story eventually got back to Nova, who was understandably pretty scared, but God's bravest soldier wasn't about to take these threats lying down.
What the f up with these weens, I swear to God. They're actually getting out of hand at this point if they're literally going into a van armed at my old f***ing house.
As for the troll that went to Nova's house, he basically turned out to be a bit of a stalker. He had thoroughly documented Nova's daily schedule and even took photos of him on public transit. Although clearly passionate, he was rightfully criticized for taking things way too far. Then again, Nova couldn't learn his lesson. In December, it was discovered he had created yet another Discord server, and within days of it being up, it was already flooded with minors. To address the issue, Nova curiously asked them to leave instead of just banning them all outright. Obviously, this didn't work, and the server is still full of kids. But Christmas time was fast approaching, and Nova was feeling the holiday cheer. He slowed down his video production to a crawl, leaving his diehard fans very worried. But to ease their fears, he uploaded a TikTok explaining why he wasn't uploading so much, which boiled down to him having some mental health issues. That being said, he did start uploading on YouTube a lot more, including this video where he announced his second channel. No, there's nothing wrong with the volume on your computer. He just uploaded the video without any sound and didn't bother to re-upload it because he's lazy. I mean, just look at his room. You don't need me to tell you this. Of course, none of this was helping his financial situation too much, and since he was still unemployed, he started begging for money during live streams. He did it 2 weeks after unboxing his brand new PlayStation 5 Slim, which was $500, so it's hard to see how he's so strapped for cash when he's able to afford an expensive gaming console, but it is what it is. And by that, I mean that just a few days after e-begging, he went on a shopping spree at Barnes & Noble. People in the comment section joked that he must have been approved for a Barnes & Noble credit card and that's how he was paying for this. But he responded by saying he had actually applied but been rejected, probably because he has no income. But it was all okay, because he was soon greeted by great news. Some of his fans had actually set him up with a new job. At least that's what he believed until he found out that he was just being trolled the entire time. Since then, Nova has been dancing on his YouTube channel, planning to play Just Dance every single day of January until the beginning of February 2025. Unfortunately, his moves are failing to dazzle the audience, at least right now. He still does upload to TikTok to this day to an ever-diminishing pool of viewers. And on one slightly positive note, he did actually manage to clean up his house, which I gotta give him credit for. When I think of Nova, I think of a snake eating its own tail. A clout goblin whose desire to be liked by the internet is only beaten by his own incompetence. Every attempt he's made to reinvent himself, be it restaurant reviews, gym videos, podcasts, has either crashed and burned in a blaze of bad decisions, or been withered away by his repetition and a brutal lack of creativity. And on top of that, he's also just a creep, so nobody likes him, obviously. But in his mind, he's so delusional that he's one podcast episode away from proving all the trolls wrong, despite all of the definitive proof of his disgusting behavior. In his mind, there's only one last door to open, at which point he'll become a popular and famous e-celebrity and collab with Markiplier. But there truly is no door. There's just a wall, and he keeps banging his head against it over and over and over and over, and with no end in sight. Much like many other reviled people on the internet, the best course of action for him would be to just leave forever. If he left, he'd be able to hold a normal job, and for better or for worse, escape from the digital paper trail he's left behind. But he never learns, and he never will. I've been Turkey Tom. Thanks for watching this video about the history of NovaOnline, and until next time, leave me alone. Or at least until next week when I post again. Bye!